This is preferredfutures.com. You're on the course Resilience. Lesson 4, Growth Through Challenges. Lesson 3 looked at a positive mindset and how this can help to frame thinking about adversity. This lesson continues in that direction and examines the ways of reappraising situations. In other words, getting the stories we tell ourselves right. Potentially traumatizing events can be draining. They can burden us emotionally and dent our physical and mental functioning. However, these effects don't have to be permanent. In fact, most people recover from most traumatic events. There are also many examples of people who are able to grow from even the worst of life's experiences. This is called post-traumatic growth, and it is the opposite to post-traumatic stress. Post-traumatic growth is seen in people who are able to deal with suffering, relativize experiences, and then use those negative life experiences to find purpose that they then apply in their lives. It's worth seeing what we can learn from such people, as the same principles can be applied in everyday life. The benefits of post-traumatic growth that have been clinically examined include improved relationships, new possibilities for one's life, a greater appreciation for life, a greater sense of personal strength, and spiritual development. I think it is important to stress here that growth through suffering does still include the suffering, and in some cases people need professional help with the negative effects of trauma, even though they may have developed new strengths. Of course, the opposite to growing is shrinking or simplifying. A natural reaction to suffering is to simplify life in order to protect yourself. People who use this strategy might also simplify themselves, such as in saying, "I have been damaged by the experience. End of story." In cases of growth, however, complexity is accepted, and people might say, for example, "I am more vulnerable, yet stronger." Individuals who experience traumatic life events tend to report, not surprisingly, an increased sense of vulnerability. However, the same people often also report an increased sense of their own ability to survive and thrive. Basically, many people become more complex, or older and wiser if you like, through experiencing life's ups and downs. They also connect their experiences in life to tell a larger story, one that is not yet over and has possibilities for the future. This difference in how people process or explain situations, either to themselves or other people, appears to be key to how well they can cope. Psychologists use the term explanatory style to describe how people explain the events of their lives. When something happens, our explanatory style is part of how we process that event, attaching meaning to it and assess it as a threat or a challenge in our lives. It's part self-talk and part self-perception. There are 3 explanatory styles worth looking at quickly to help gain an idea of the pitfalls of oversimplification when faced by challenges. The first is personal explanatory style. This examines the degree to which a person attributes an event to internal or external causes. So, an optimist might attribute a bad experience to something external such as luck, whereas a pessimist might consider it their fault and blame it on a defect in their personality. In reality, either could be right, but most likely it's a combination of both. Gamblers, for example, tend to externalize fault concerning the money they lose by blaming outside factors such as bad luck or even the number, animal or team they bet on. They also tend to minimize their own fault, whereas in reality it must be a combination of both. Equally, some people internalize situations and blame themselves too much. "I should have known she couldn't be trusted." Another explanatory style involves permanence. Explanations that apply across time. An optimist might define his or her failures as applicable to one occasion only, I just didn't practice enough before the competition. Whereas a pessimist might think, I've never been any good at sport. The third explanatory style involves how pervasive or widespread situations are believed to be. A pessimist might, for example, think that the problem of poverty exists everywhere, so why bother trying to solve it? An optimist could think that the problem of poverty is much less in city X, so why don't we try applying the same solutions in our city? Again, neither perspective is likely to be exclusively right. The above examples show the value of gaining a balanced take on a situation. Otherwise, we run the danger of what Professor Martin Seligman calls catastrophizing. This is where people tend to attribute the worst-case thinking to situations, and this leads to depression, paralysis, and fatigue. Quite the opposite of resilience. The activities that follow in this lesson are suggested by Seligman and have been tried out both in high schools and in the US military. In both cases, the results have been spectacular. They show clearly that explanatory style can be changed through more accurate assessment of situations and more objective judging of those situations. Activities 2 and 3 show you step by step how you can approach experiences more objectively, and Activity 4 links that skill to freeing yourself from your own criticism, giving you the opportunity to grow through life's challenges.